Welcome back, book sniffers. I thought I would show you Mona. She is our little Lagotto Romagnolo dog, though not so little anymore. You're getting heavy, aren't you, Mona? She is a truffle hunting dog from the north of Italy. We've not trained her to hunt truffles yet, but there's time for that. She was in a little warm bundle there on the chair next to me. I'll put you back, Mona, sorry. But, you know, some people wanted to see you. Okay, and so in this episode, I wanted to tell you all about what it's like to launch a book as an author. So this is my book, Forgotten Churches, Exploring England's Hidden Treasures, which was published on March the 27th by the Quarto Group. The imprint is Francis Lincoln. They specialise in these really beautifully illustrated, informative, hopefully quite poetic books. And I really went for a vintage feel with this one. The illustrator, Iwana Piwaru, did an extraordinary job. And so in this episode, I've got a lot coming up to show you. We hosted an exhibition showcasing some of the illustrations for the book, and I want to let you see what that looked like. We also had a pop-up bookshop. I went to London to give a presentation to the publishing house on the book, found that quite intimidating, so I'll share some of my thoughts on that. It was then a book signing at one of the main warehouses for books in the whole of the UK. This is where the main wholesaler has their main stock, and so I went to sign over 1,200 books actually, so I'll tell you about that experience, show you behind the scenes of the book trade. And then it was the book launch itself, the physical event for friends and family. Me and Iwana did a talk, and I'm going to show you some clips of that. We opened up the exhibition to the public. We decorated Sherlock Pages with the book. I actually did the whole of the shop window for a few days with the book, but hey, you only own a bookshop once, right? So I thought, let's go for it. And then it was through the weekend, my first ever bookshop talk, which actually wasn't at Sherlock Pages. We are so tiny here in Frome, Somerset, England. So I went to nearby Bath. I'll show you some of the city. It was the perfect venue for it, one of the biggest independent bookshops in the UK, Toppings in Bath, right opposite the Abbey. So it had the ecclesiastical context for Forgotten Churches, some lovely people. And then at the end of it all, I was honestly exhausted, but we got some amazing news, which I'm really pleased to be able to share with you and surprised. So let's dive in. Okay, so the week started on the Monday with setting up the exhibition. So we hired the Silk Mill in Frome, and I actually managed to record a little bit later in the week what the whole setup looked like. So we were pinning photo frames to the walls, making sure it all looked really nice. But rather than me talking about it, we're going to jump around a little bit in time here. I was so busy, but hopefully you'll get a picture of what the week looked like. If we go into this clip, you will see what the exhibition looked like. You will see Iwana showing off some of her images, and yeah, I think it will make sense, and then we'll return. I just thought I would show you the setup we've got here, because it is really beautiful at the Silk Mill gallery. Just behind me, you will see the church on the hill here in Frome, and if I come back, you'll see this beautiful cover here marking the entrance. There's benches that I will put cushions on actually, and then above me here is a studio where we're actually going to have an office, a place I can do artwork, and we will be able to film book reviews. So we will create a really lovely book nook there, and then you step in to the gallery, and this is where we have our pop-up. So on display we have 36 of the limited edition prints by Iwana Piwaru, and they are available through her website as well. I'll put a link in the description of this episode. And honestly, the detail, it's really hard for me to show, on camera here. I'll get some B-roll and zoom in on these. But some of these pictures, illustrations, took 3 days to create. And in reality, these are limited edition prints. There's 30 of each of these, but the originals are this big. They fit in the palm of your hand. I think I've got some footage of that, which I can show you. And I know this one here, Tideswell in Derbyshire, a church that was built either side of the Black Death in the 14th century. This took 3 days. And Ufford here in Suffolk. This is a church I visited that has a telescopic font cover from the 15th century. Utterly stunning. The light was pouring in, and this took 3 days for Iwana to capture as well. So beautiful. There are around 70 churches in my book. We've got a pile. I can't really show you there. We've got a pile of them. Here it is, forgotten churches. So I've been getting used to signing these without embarrassment. But yeah, I'm getting used to it now. And the front cover is a church that actually inspired my journeys originally, and you can read about that in the book if you so choose. We've also got here a pop-up little bookshop. So some arts and heritage favourites that you can get also on our website. We've got, this has been very popular. Maybe I'll just mention some of the books that have been popular you might be interested in. So this is Folklore Rising by Ben Edge, an artist's journey through Britain's ritual year. This has been really, really popular. It's in hardback, but it's got such glorious photos and artworks exploring Britain's folklore and all these different stories and traditions that we have on this island, and we're very lucky. What else has been really popular? We've had Oliver Smith's On This Holy Island, a modern pilgrimage across Britain. So this is a memoir of his journeys, and it says acclaimed travel writer Oliver Smith sets out to radically reframe our idea of pilgrimage in Britain by retracing sacred travel made across time. And yeah, these have been flying off the shelves. Out in paperback now. One book that we need to get on our website, and we will do soon, which has caused a lot of interest, is this, Monsters. What do we do with great art by bad people? And I think in the current age, this question has been asked so many times by people, and so this is a contribution to that kind of discussion. Some old shop favourites here. Wild Atlantic Women. Do watch our YouTube episode with the author Grania Lyons. This is the book that Sherlock Pages really, 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 really champions, and I'm very proud to have played a small role in helping Wild Atlantic Women and Grania's book get into the hands of the readers that it will give immense value to. We've got so many here. Peter Ross's books, A Tomb with a View, so explorations of churchyards. He also wrote Steeple Chasing, a journey around Britain by church. Really popular. Yeah, there's so many here. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. It has been a lovely weekend so far. People have been asking me how it feels to have my book out in the world. More than anything, it just feels like I've been wrapped in warmth. A couple came from Poland yesterday for the exhibition. That is mind-blowing. They said they were either going to Genoa or they were going to go away for a weekend in Frome. They chose Frome, and it was actually a really nice day, and I think they had a really great time. They brought me a book of poetry from a Nobel Prize-winning Polish author, which I will read in the evenings to kind of unwind after this really busy weekend. Just such special people. There were so many that it's too many to name, but I really, really loved it. I've been feeling exhausted. I fell asleep just lying down on the sofa last night afterwards. But it's been such a pleasure. So to see the book in the world, yeah, it's just been It's not been stressful really, it's just been really, really nice. But I'm sure people will be coming in soon. It's just after 10 a.m, we've just opened. One chap already wandered in and we had a lovely talk about the illustrations. He didn't know about the project or what we'd been doing, and he was really taken by it. So, one last one. We were helped out by David Abram for internet here. David is an author who lives in Frome, and we have a YouTube episode with him on his aerial atlas of ancient Britain. So you can get this through us. It's £30, I think, because it is a really high-end production, and it's by Thames and Hudson, so it's quality. But you can watch the YouTube episode with him because David is a very soulful and deep expert on the prehistory of Britain, and I learned so much in that episode. I think it's one of the best things we've done. Probably should have combed my hair, shouldn't I? But yeah, do take a look at that because David is a really fascinating person. I'll give you an update at the very end of the day on how we've done here. But yeah, for now, checking out. Once Monday was over, it was up very early on Tuesday. I got a train from Frome to London. And this is where I was actually most nervous. Public speaking for me has been something that has scared me throughout my life, not just my professional life, but I've even kind of talked to friends about not inviting me to do speeches at weddings and things like that. Seems strange now, I'm really confident talking on camera, obviously, I'm well practiced at that, but I think it's different when you're in front of an audience, and I was quite scared. This was an event that was designed for everyone in the publishing house to come to London. A lot of people in the company work in London, but many of them work in the regions as well. And they all come down for one day to gather. It's a bit of an away day for them. And everyone is there, which I think is great. You know, all the accountants in the company, all the HR people, as well as all the book people. So it really makes people feel like a team. Those people who aren't necessarily hearing about the books and the authors day to day, because they do different jobs within the company, are actually wrapped up in what the final product of the company is for the day. And so I felt quite a lot of pressure to do a good job of informing everyone what the book's about, being as enthusiastic as I could about it, and just sharing my passion. And there was actually a green room, and some of the authors there were reasonably famous, like some of them on TV in the UK. I won't name names, I don't want to do that, but some of them had huge kind of social media followings as well. And I was sat there with my notebook. I wasn't as prepared as probably I'd hoped to be. And about 10 minutes before I was about to speak, my heart was going pound, 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 pound. I had flight mode engaged and I was thinking, can I do this? I was a bit surprised actually. I thought I'd be more confident. But when the doors opened and we went into this theatre setup, for some reason, I don't know, I think it's experience now and also a certain... it's something that Paul Lamb, the author of Thorn and Briar, said to me recently, that you have to feel the feelings sometimes and do it anyway. And I did seem to relax actually once I was in there. And talking about the book publicly, really for the first time, was great because I realised my passion is there. This is my topic. As long as I've got some structure in my mind, it's going to be easy. If anyone's watching this who has a fear of public speaking, doesn't like it in meetings at work, and feels like it's holding them back, I totally get it. It's really hard for me to talk to you because I've been that person before, but I'm sure I will revert and have moments of struggle again in my life. But this was a huge breakthrough for me. And just think, the worst that's going to happen is you get a bit nervous. People generally have your back in these situations. I don't know if I've got any particular advice apart from just have courage and know that a lot of people feel the same. And I think sharing those challenges is something that is really helpful. So that's why I am sharing this. But I actually really enjoyed it in the end. And so I went back home to Frome, got the train back home to Frome with, it's kind of a sense of achievement. However, it was all go. So after this, we'll jump in to the Wednesday. Wednesday, I was up super early, I think at 4 a.m. or something, because I had a 5-hour drive to Eastbourne. It shouldn't have taken that long, but I knew it would with morning traffic here. So I tried to get as far along the south coast as I could before I hit it, but I was still a little bit late. And then I was met by this mountain of books to sign, 1,200 books. I managed to do that quite quickly though, because we had a really well-oiled machine. The team at the Wholesalers, so this is at the main UK Wholesalers, which is called Gardeners Books, and they were really lovely, very welcoming to me, and they had 4 or 5 staff at different times set up to help me. So someone kind of laying the books out, someone making sure the page was open where I would sign it, handing it to me, I would hand it off, they would put it in a pallet, and someone would be taking the pallets out so that they could be stored and sent out in the appropriate place. So we got through that really much quicker than I thought. My hands and elbows were fine. I don't know why. I was really expecting to be in a lot of pain signing those books, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually found it really quite meditative as well. It's just the same action again and again and again, and it kind of removed a bit of the buzz in my head from launch week. So I really enjoyed it. I think the team at Gardeners were impressed with my kind of determination and stamina on that. So we actually had time for a tour. So this was really, really fascinating. We got to see where all of the stacks are. So I think there's probably millions of books stored in this facility in various different warehouses. It's very high tech. There are kind of machines that go up, pick books and then pull them out, and then people can specifically pack individual orders that are coming through. And the orders will be coming through from bookshops and traders across the UK, and they honestly will be delivered the next day. So there's lorries coming in and then lorries coming out. Lorries coming in with books from publishers and then going out to retailers and even to customers, direct customers across the UK and even some internationally. We saw that as well. What is quite cool is that Gardeners is a plastic-free company. That's not 100% true, and they were keen to show me the last little bits of the process that they have where they haven't managed to get rid of the plastic yet. Okay, book launch day. So I didn't get so much footage for this as I was hoping, but I'm glad about that in hindsight. I basically chose to embrace the experience. I was only going to launch my first book once, and it was all about the people who were there. My parents came down, so many friends were there. Iwana Piwaru was there, the illustrator, and it was our first time meeting that week face to face, and we'd worked on this project for over a year, and we were anticipating the launch. So it's so nice to stand with her before an audience at the exhibition, the launch of the exhibition, the launch of the book. And the reason I was so keen to do the book launch, by the way, is because I genuinely felt like Iwana's artwork deserved it. Book launches now are not as much of a big thing as they were in the past. You know, I think the idea of gathering in a bookshop for a book launch is a really nice thing. But publishers' money is quite tight. There's not as much budget for it. And I don't think it makes as much of a splash as it used to. So the publisher said to us, you know, we're happy to support, you know, something kind of small for you to do as a book launch if you'd like to, but we don't see it as essential. They were really nice about it. But I thought, you know, let's go for it. Let's do the exhibition. Let's have a bit of a party. Let's get friends down. It deserved it. Obviously we didn't have large amounts of money, but we're thankful that we have the silk mill in Frome, where we now have a studio, which I will show you in the coming weeks. And they gave us a discount for being local company and friends. And yeah, we were able to do it really well, I think, on a bit of a shoestring budget. Our friend Jack at Rye Bakery gave us a discount on wine and even said we could do sale or return. So it was lovely. Here's our speech. I didn't have this planned at all. I interviewed Iwana essentially. Yeah, here it is. Hope you enjoy.
What their budget is, I think I have to go. Thank you.
That was a really good ding. Guys, gather round. So we're going to say a few words. Firstly, thank you so much for making the effort. Some of you have travelled really quite far. I feel like it's the author's job to say that this is a team effort. But in this case, I think we can all appreciate, looking around the room, that it is a team effort. Although my name is on the book as the author, Iwana Piwaru has done the most stunning job as the illustrator of the book, and I'll be forever thankful to Iwana. So if we could have a round of applause for her, that would be wonderful. She's really gone above and beyond on these illustrations, and we're going to dive into a few questions on her process. And I know that some of these drawings, which are actually really small in the originals, took several days in some cases. There are also a lot of other people behind the scenes who've contributed to the creation of this book, many of them at the publisher Quarto and the imprint Francis Lincoln. And I wanted, on that note, to hand over to John Parton, who I am also very thankful for reaching out to me. So John, if you want to say a few words about the book. Unfortunately, at this point, the microphone didn't pick up John's speech so well. So we're going to skip on to when I invite Iwana on stage to do a Q&A. So me and Iwana actually only met in person recently, and we've been speaking for, well, it feels like the best part of 2 years in creating the book. And there were so many questions that I had for Iwana, which I've not been able to ask. And I actually saved them for tonight. But, because I thought we may as well have the conversation live, because I'm sure the questions I have are the ones that everyone else has. But before we do that, my parents are here, and I really want to say a massive thank you to them. Although at the time I wasn't happy about it, I spent my childhood being dragged around to places like this, which is Chelmorton in Derbyshire. And this is actually the church that sparked my interest. But really, I've seen my parents work so hard. My mum was a nurse, my dad was a pattern maker when we were growing up, and they gave everything to us boys. And they also gave us a real magical education in England, its history, the landscapes, and I couldn't be more thankful. So I'm really pleased that there's a Derbyshire church on the front of here. So we've got slides with not many, and don't worry, this isn't a corporate presentation or anything. But Iwana, I wanted to ask you what you thought when you got offered this project in general, and had you illustrated churches before?
No churches before, and definitely not this many, but no churches. I was following you on Instagram before, so I was happy when I was contacted by John to do this project, and I knew I wanted to do it. So although it took a while for us to agree on the contract, I thought, no matter what we do, I want to do this book project. So I'm really happy that we...
I didn't know that you were following my work. So all of these illustrations are from my photos. So I had to go through my archive. So Agathe has no worries about going on my phone and checking which photos I have, because I have 45,000 photos of old churches on my camera roll, that's it. So it's either that or the dog. So these were all provided to Iwana, and you picked out some of your favourites, right? So I think we talked about Chelmorton. That was one of my favourites, but they are here, actually. So this one was one of the most challenging, right?
Yes.
And how long did this take you to draw?
So what I'm going to say, it doesn't sound like that long because it's 3 days. But sorry, I'm going to put this. It's that small, so it's a postcard size. For me, that sort of size would normally take, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on complexity. So to spend 3 days on such a small drawing, that was, and knowing that there were 70 more waiting for me to. I think that was a big challenge, you know, putting everything in context.
I think what's really special about this one, so this is a 15th century font cover that's 18 foot high, and it is so detailed and complex in its structure and its carpentry. And it is a miracle that it survived. It very nearly got ruined during the 17th century, mid-17th century, as many of the fittings in this church were. But for some reason, it survived, which you can read about in Forgotten Churches, available in all good bookshops. But there was incense in the church. It's a very high church, Anglo-Catholic church, Ufford in Suffolk. And you've captured the incense and the sun bursting through. And I think that's why people have responded so well to them online. Have you been surprised by the response of people to these on Instagram?
No. I mean, I kind of have a feeling of, like, when I put a lot of time and passion in a project, I know that it's going to go through to people and they're going to respond the same way. So it sounds silly, but I wasn't surprised.
And we'll go to one of your favourites, right?
Yes.
I think out of all of the images, this is the one that's captured people's imagination most. So did your eyes just light up when you first saw this photo, or was it actually during the process of working it that you got into it?
It was during the process that I got into it, because at first I asked myself, what is the point of making a drawing of a painting? And then when I started doing it, I actually got really drawn into all the textures and how do I actually translate, you know, where the wood is painted and where it is not, and how do I get that flatness. And I got, I don't know, charmed by the subject as I was working on it.
Well, reading the comments, that because Ivana's Instagram is really, really special. Reading the comments, people say that you've really looked at these images and you actually create more detail in the drawings than you ever see in the photographs. So I find that really interesting. Like I noticed that the posy here that she's got in her hand, you really brought to life. So I think people have responded so well to it. So another Derbyshire favourite. This is Eam, and this was a wayside preaching cross. So this wouldn't have been in the churchyard. This was found on a windswept moorside in Derbyshire and then brought back to the churchyard at Eam. People aren't sure about the date, really. Probably late 8th century, not 18th. And this one also has really captured people's imagination. I just wondered if you could tell us how long this one took you and how you approached it.
This one actually took a little less, I think, about a day probably. I liked the fact that as I was working on it, I was, for some reason, thinking about the person who had made this thing 1,000 and more years ago. So it was kind of like a handshake across the centuries, you know, to make a drawing of another artist's work and craft. So
yeah, I often think about the people who created these pieces as well, and it feels really hard to know them, but through observing the pieces closely, you can at least gather some of who they were and those emotions. And you picked this one as one of your favourites as well. So this is actually said Enza, and it's in Derbyshire. So you did pick some Derbyshire favourites, which is good. I actually used to live in this village, and this is the village that I lived in when my church crawling really started. So just behind where this photo is taken is the famous Chatsworth House, which you probably know as Pemberley. If you've never visited Chatsworth House, and this is the estate village there. And I was a little bit surprised because I think I put this one as a photo out of a bit of sentimentality. So I was really pleased to see that you included it. I lived here for 3 years whilst working on the Chatsworth estate. So I used to walk over this hill daily, which was very bucolic. So yeah, I was wondering why you chose this one.
I think I liked it because of how the church sits in the landscape. I think this is something that I really appreciate about British architecture in general, what a nice dialogue there is between it and nature, and how they complement each other rather than competing with each other. So I like that. Maybe comparing it with other pictures where you see the church from the outside, it takes up quite a small amount of space, so you can really appreciate the landscape around it and the atmosphere and the sun coming kind of from behind it and creating this very nostalgic feeling.
And have you been, Ioana?
No.
Well, my parents live 10 minutes away, so I'm sure there's always a warm cup of tea waiting for you up in Derbyshire. But you must, because that landscape is absolutely beautiful. We just wanted to show you a little bit about the process. Ioana, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to say or any thanks that you wanted to offer about the process of creating the book at all.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and John and Quarto for offering me the possibility to work on this project, because I think there's a perfect match between your writing and your subjects, the subjects you're passionate about, and the subjects that I'm passionate about. So it was really, I think, a special sort of meeting of skills here. And yeah, I hope everyone will enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed working on it.
The book's done really well so far, so we've been quite surprised. If I could ask one favour, if you're a Frome person or live in the wider area, if you could tell people that for the next 3 days they can come and observe all of these Prince illustrations and buy loads of books, that would be great. I have a list of people to thank that is so big. Kerry and Sophie, who work in Sherlock and Pages, and Jane, who helps as well. But I can't go into the list of everyone, but I just do not want to leave without saying thank you to Agathe, who is my partner and just drives everything and is organised and pragmatic and fierce and all of the things that I am not. So thank you, Agathe, I love you. On that, I just say let's have a nice drink and a chat and observe all the brilliant illustrations. And yeah, thank you, Ioana, as well.
Thank you, Luke.
All right. So the next 3 days were all about the exhibition. We were staffing it. The physical store just 5 minutes away was open as well. So we had people coming down to Frome to see the shop and then come to the exhibition. It's all a bit of a blur now, but I did sit down after it was all finished and have some reflections on it. So I thought I'd share those now, and you can see kind of what I was thinking and feeling at the time. I'm just here now packing up the exhibition. I've put all the remaining books in boxes, both the remaining copies of Forgotten Churches, which it was a real pleasure to promote and celebrate this weekend, primarily the unbelievable artworks by Ioana, which so many people enjoyed. And many of the books that we really champion at Sherlock and Pages. Actually, the first one I put my hand on is A Home for All Seasons by my friend Gavin, who came down, Gavin Plumley. This is about him discovering the layers of history in a historic house he bought in Herefordshire, which borders Wales, for those who don't know, here in England. And it's just a really, really lovely book. Totally unique. We did a video on it. If you think that might sound interesting, we actually interviewed Gavin in the shop. So it was just a weekend of being surrounded by family, friends, and then great enthusiastic people. The couple that came from Poland all the way to Frome, they said they were either going to go to Genoa or to Frome to see Sherlock Pages and to visit this exhibition. Well, they chose us, they chose to come here, and we actually saw them whilst walking home last night, and they'd been to Bath. I hope they had a lovely time in Bath, which is a city just 30 minutes drive away. You can get there on the train from Frome for anyone who doesn't know, and it's a world-class city in the sense that it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has the most fabulous Georgian architecture. It's really architecturally consistent in its look. This was a city that was a real aristocrat's playground in the late 18th century, and which is now used in many period dramas, and it has beautiful, beautiful cafes and bookshops. It's a real place to go away for a long weekend for people here in the UK. So it's just brilliant that people are coming on tourist trips to visit England, visit Sherlock and Pages, Frome, the local area, enjoy it, enjoy the countryside, enjoy our built heritage and our natural endowment, and yeah, plan their time around it. So I'm feeling tired as ever, but excited about the week ahead. I'm speaking actually in Bath tomorrow at Topping's Bookshop with our friends there. It's lovely to be collaborating with other independent bookshops, and then I'm sure there's a whole series of promotion in the weeks ahead, radio interviews, talks, speeches, numerous things like this. So looking forward to that very much in the weeks ahead. But for now, I really should pack up here at the Frome Silk Mill. We've only got this space for another couple of days, though we are getting a studio here, as I think I've mentioned, upstairs with the most glorious light coming in. So we're hoping to be able to use that as an office. I also do oil painting, so I'm hoping to do a project on oil painting over the next couple of years, and I've kind of got this sketched out, but I don't want to talk too much about that because who knows, it might change, and finding the time for it is going to be difficult, but I really do have that as an aim. And we're going to use it as a YouTube studio for interviews with authors, for updates on the books that I and we as a team have been reading. As an update, we're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks Sherlock and Pages Children's. The reasons we're doing this is because we believe inspiring children to love nature, to be inspired by wildlife, our landscapes, is really, really important. We think there are the most tremendously beautiful books in that category. We're really not doing a good job at communicating on those books, and we think we can do a much better job. But if we do that on our main channels, maybe it won't be for everyone, and we have found someone who is so enthusiastic about children's nature books, about nature writing for younger people. And so we really want to do that well. So I'm going to be introducing them to the channel in due course and talking about what our values will be with Sherlock and Pages Children's. So there's so much coming up for us, but I should probably get some rest. Oh, just one last thing, because some of you have been asking. Our Long Live the Hedgerows bags are back in stock. I hope you can see that. These were designed by our very own Agathe, who is my partner. She actually painted the design originally on a board that was meant to go on an A-frame, you know, those frames that sit outside shops. But actually we decided not to have an A-frame in the end. We felt like it was something that a lot of shops do in town, and I'm sure it does attract attention, but we kind of felt like a clean look might be better for us. I don't know, that might change in the future. It's not like something that I'm really feel very strongly about, but it was also very heavy. So rather than lose all of that hard work, we put the design on our bag, and they were super popular. So that was a complete happy accident for us. So those are back in stock after several months. The reason we don't get things back in stock straight away, by the way, is because to print these, we need to do about 500. And you can imagine 500 of these, you know, times the cost, it's a lot of money for us to have in the bank at any one time. We really need to manage cash flow. So we've got more designs to come. We have another strap line at Sherlock Pages, Riot, for the dormice. We've got a really cool orange bag design, but we need to save up money before we can print them all off and get them in stock. So I think sometimes people ask, you know, why don't you have these in stock when there's a demand? But it's just managing cash flow, which we're trying to do. We've done really well recently, but we spent so much on the exhibition, buying in extra stock. We had a massive bill for all of the pre-orders of my book, Forgotten Churches. So that all came out at one time. It was a bit scary. We knew it was coming, but when it happens, you're like, you know, you look at the bank account, just literally more than half of our bank account came down. So these things are constantly happening behind the scenes, and they are the considerations. And I'm a little bit scared of ever taking out a loan, so hopefully we can avoid that. But this is what we're dealing with. Anyway, I'm waffling on now. I'm going to leave it there. After packing down on the Monday and actually a lot of the Tuesday as well, and I think I had some bits to do on the Wednesday, but going back to the Tuesday, I had to give my first ever bookshop talk at Toppings, this huge independent bookshop in Bath. So I recorded some thoughts on the way there and then afterwards as well. So I will show you those in turn. Just to say now, I think that was such a good experience. The audience were really nice, and I've taken a lot from it. So I am keen to do a few more bookshop talks in the future. But anyway, now you're going to see my thoughts on the way there and then afterwards. I'm not going to show you the talk itself because it wasn't recorded. I felt nervous about asking to do that. Maybe I should. I'm quite good friends with the people at Toppings, but hey, sometimes it's just about embracing the moment. And I didn't know whether I was going to enjoy it or not, how I would react. I was actually feeling really relaxed. It was an interview format, so it's a little bit less pressure than just kind of talking directly, and you know, if you falter, there's someone else there to riff off and all of that. So anyway, here we go. I have just arrived in the great city of Bath, a World Heritage City, a UNESCO World Heritage City. It is known for its Georgian architecture. This was a bit of an aristocratic playground in the 18th century. People still come here for a long weekend for a good time. And it's also a great place to come independent book shopping. There is Toppings here, there is Mr. B's, there are numerous second-hand bookshops, and I'm actually speaking at Toppings. So it's going to be my first official book talk for Forgotten Churches. But I feel like I've been talking about the book all week. I'm feeling quite relaxed about it. Certainly not as intimidated as when I spoke in London to my publisher, because there were people there who probably, although they're very interested in what their company, the publishers, are doing, were listening to so many books that, well, they would have had some that they were more interested in than others. So I knew that I had to be quick and to the point there. Tonight, hopefully, will be full of lovely people who have given up their Tuesday evening to come out and talk heritage. And there couldn't be a more appropriate location to start that journey than at Toppings in Bath, because of two reasons. One, it is opposite the beautiful Bath Abbey, so it's just in the perfect location. Secondly, Robert Topping, who started the company, is a bit of a visionary within the book trade. He actually worked in a Waterstones in Manchester, and the corporate machine apparently was trying to control his displays, and he wasn't having it. He decided that he knew his customers, he knew what he wanted to curate his own choices alongside his expert staff. So he set up his own bookshop, and it's been a roaring success ever since. And Toppings in Bath is the biggest independent bookshop in the country, I believe. However, next year, or pretty soon, that's going to change because they will have a new site in York. So I will go and visit that for a video. But I'm nearly here, so I'll sign off. I'm very tired, but I'm looking forward to this and I'll let you know how it goes. Good morning. It's the morning after the night before, my first ever book talk. The crowd was lovely, people who came out to support Forgotten Churches. The questions were really informative, in the sense that I was understanding what the readers were interested in, what they were responding to. There was a lot of interest in the pilgrimage element of what I did, how I did that, how I felt whilst doing it. And maybe that will inform some of my future writing and projects. I just thought I'd finish by saying massive thank you to Toppings Books, particularly Kitty, who hosted me. Kitty is a friend who lives here in Frome, but she works in Bath at Toppings, which honestly, that bookshop is about as big as an independent bookshop gets. It is classy. The booksellers there are really passionate. They're given a large degree of autonomy. I think there are, as I might have mentioned yesterday, there are a number of Toppings. There's one in Ely, which is the most beautiful cathedral city on the east side of England. There is Bath, obviously, where I spoke last night, which is right near the Abbey. And I thought it was in a Methodist church, but it's actually not. It's a meeting house. So it would have been a Quaker meeting house previously. Then there is one in St Andrews, which I've never been to, actually. I've never been to St Andrews, very famous place, obviously, where Prince William studied. So it was in the news for that a lot, and where the golf is. But a big university town. There's one in Edinburgh. And I definitely mentioned there's going to be the one in York, which I heard may open later this year, actually. So when that opens, I promise to go and do a YouTube video up there. But yes, this was book launch week. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for all your comments. Honestly, I can't respond to them all, particularly at the moment. But when I'm flicking through my phone in the evening, I read them. And honestly, there was a French lady who left a message about how she's never happier than when she reads her books on the bus into work, and that she loves the channel. And there's been a lot of comments about people's enjoyment of the channel, which has slightly surprised me, but I'm going to keep it going as a result. So thank you so much. I'll finish as ever. Long live the Hedgerows. Once the launch was fully done, the book was in the world, I started to get Instagram stories shared with me of readers who had it in their hands. Some of them were taking it out to churches or on their wanders. It was really, really nice. The weather here in the UK was fantastic, so people were reading it in the garden, in parks, in the countryside. I really loved seeing that. And then it was just about trying to get the word out there. I did quite a bit of radio to try and get the message out there. There was a really, really good review in Country Life magazine, which is quite a popular magazine for people who have kind of rural interests here, lots of rural pursuits and stuff like that. So that was really good. And honestly, that review was a full page and it couldn't have been better as a kind of first review for the book. The feedback from readers was so positive, clearly drawn in by the illustrations. Some of them said that they bought the book for the illustrations and then they were fascinated by the topic and they were really complimentary about the writing, which someone said, I actually thought the book would be really dry and kind of technical, but I was so pleasantly surprised and I'm really, really enjoying reading it now. So I loved that. And then there was people who followed my journey for a long time who probably bought it more for the writing, but then enjoyed such a beautiful physical product. So yeah, it was great working with Awana. I feel like we really dovetailed as a team. Then I got an email from the publisher, well, actually a WhatsApp, and the book had made the top 10 the Sunday Times bestsellers list here in the UK. It actually entered at number 7. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can see that. If not, I'll get some better footage. But it entered at number 7. And that is a big achievement and a big surprise. We actually joked when I was writing the book that it's not going to be a bestseller because it's a book about old churches. There's something about the book that I think just the way it looks, that kind of nostalgic vintage feel. Everyone likes popping their head into old churches, but maybe don't know that much about them. There's a certain romanticism around them. I talk a lot about my walks and my journeys in the book. It's quite a light book, like you can dip into it. I'll show you actually. Yeah, the way the book is formatted, so it's got this lovely gold foiling on it, beautiful illustrations, and it's got about 70 churches in. But each chapter starts with one of these black pages, which outlines what the chapter is going to be about. Those chapters are various fascinations about why I got obsessed with old churches. So it starts with it's called a chapter called Into the Peaks, because I lived in the Peak District at the time when I started to fall in love with churches. And that's where my antiquarian obsession, as I write, begins. And then on each church, there is kind of a short entry and an illustration. So these are just so beautiful. And then it goes through the different chapters. So there's quite a few on different architectural periods. So I followed it chronologically at first. And then there are chapters such as here, which is called The Connoisseur, where I would go in search of particularly beautiful objects in the English countryside, or sometimes in the towns and cities, such as this alabaster monument here from the 15th century at Ewelme in Oxfordshire. I have chapters called The Place of Whispering Memories, because that's how I conceived of these places, ones with particularly wonderful, quiet, hushed atmospheres. For it to make the Sunday Times bestsellers list here in the UK it's a big achievement. So thank you to everyone who has bought the book. Do tell people about it. Continue to share. If you haven't got one and you think you would like one, you can get it through Sherlock Pages, or you can get it through all good booksellers. And booksellers are really picking it up now. I think that obviously it being on that list has really turned heads. I think anyone who's in North America is being sold and distributed there as well, so you should be able to get it relatively easily, although you can get it through Sherlock Pages, of course. This is a bookseller's sort of technique, but unfortunately the way shipping works, it is better to get a bundle of books and products and get them shipped if you are doing that, rather than just buying one, because the shipping can be quite high because there's like a minimum threshold. Anyway, I'll move on and I'll just get Mona and we will say goodbye. So she's just been dozing on the patio outside, but she always likes a snuggle. For now, that was what it was like to do the launch week, to fill the shop window at Sherlock Pages with the book for a few days, and it was a big success. A lot of hard work. I feel like I'm still recovering from it now, but we've got so much more to come on the channel. Do subscribe. We're really trying to push towards 20,000. I think we're nearing 15 at the time of recording this. Let's see what we can do. We're taking some risks in the future. Long live the Hedgerows. Goodbye, everyone.